the silent danger on your plate. Have you ever sat down at the dinner table, knife and fork in hand, ready to enjoy what you thought was a heart-healthy plate of grilled fish? Perfectly seasoned, golden on the outside, flaky on the inside. It feels like the right choice. Because fish is healthy, right? That's what we've all been told. Low in saturated fat, high in lean protein, rich in omega-3s that protect the heart and fuel the brain. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people over 60 aren't being told. Not all fish is created equal. And some of the most popular types, the ones that look, smell, and even taste like the smart choice, may be quietly harming your body behind the scenes. You see, as we age, our bodies become less efficient at filtering toxins. The liver slows down, the kidneys lose efficiency, and the very foods we believed were helping us stay sharp and strong may actually be contributing to memory loss, nerve damage, and long-term inflammation. This isn't fear-mongering. This is science. And it's time we talked about it. Because this story is about more than just what's on your plate. It's about awareness. It's about protection. It's about making better decisions for ourselves and for the people we love. So if you're over 60 or care for someone who is, stay with us. In today's video, we'll walk you through 6 types of fish older adults should avoid at all costs and the safer, smarter alternatives that support your health instead of quietly sabotaging it. But first, let me ask you one simple question. Have you ever eaten a type of fish thinking it was healthy, only to find out later it might have been doing more harm than good? If that sounds familiar, let us know in the comments. Just type, "That's me," so we know we're talking to the right people. Let's begin. Part 2. King Mackerel, the mercury-laced tradition. Every Sunday, the patio fills with the smell of sizzling fish. Your grandfather, proud and steady at the grill, flips thick fillets of king mackerel, just like he has for years. He believes it's doing his body good. It's fish, he says. Great for the heart, great for the brain. And for a while, it seems true. But then, you notice something. He starts forgetting simple things' names, appointments. He seems more tired than usual. His hand trembles slightly when he lifts his morning coffee. At first, it feels like normal aging. But what if it isn't? What if the very fish he thought was keeping him strong was silently poisoning his nervous system, one Sunday at a time? Let's be clear. King mackerel is one of the highest mercury-containing fish on the market. Mercury is a heavy metal, and once it enters the body, it doesn't leave easily. In younger people, the liver and kidneys can filter out small amounts. But in older adults, that system slows down. Mercury accumulates, it builds, it lingers, and over time, it starts to affect the brain. Confusion, mood swings, memory lapses, even tremors and nerve damage. The worst part? Many families have no idea what's causing these changes until it's too late. And here's a common mistake many people make. They confuse king mackerel with Atlantic mackerel. Same family, similar name, but very different risk. Atlantic mackerel is actually low in mercury and rich in healthy fats. It's a smart choice. King mackerel? Not so much. So if you're over 60 or preparing meals for someone who is, it's time to stop choosing king mackerel. Instead, reach for wild-caught salmon or sardines. Both are heart-friendly, brain-boosting, and far safer for aging bodies. It's not about giving up traditions. It's about adjusting them, Wisely so, your Sunday meals can still be a joy without the hidden cost. What about you? Was king mackerel ever part of your family routine? Drop a comment below, just type, "We used to eat it," if this hit close to home. Next up, a fish you've probably eaten without even knowing it, and the risk it carries may be even worse. Part 3, tilefish, the hidden risk in your catch of the day. You're out for dinner. It's a special occasion, maybe a birthday, an anniversary, or just a rare night to treat yourself. The waiter arrives, listing the chef's selections. Tonight's catch of the day is a delicate white fish, lightly grilled and finished with lemon butter. Sounds perfect. Light, elegant, healthy. So you order it without hesitation. But here's the truth. No one at the table knows. That catch of the day? It might be tilefish, and if it is, it could be one of the most dangerous choices on the menu for someone over 60. Tilefish from the Gulf of Mexico contains some of the highest levels of mercury of any fish sold in the US. Yes, even more than king mackerel. And it doesn't take much mercury to cause damage when your body's natural filters have slowed down. Over time, even small amounts can lead to memory loss, brain fog, numbness or tingling in the hands, and in some cases, symptoms that mimic early dementia. And the worst part? You never even knew you were eating it. Tilefish often hides under vague menu descriptions. White fish, chef's catch, market selection. It sounds fancy. It looks safe. And the price? Often higher, giving you the false sense that it must be premium. But remember this. High price doesn't mean high safety. So what can you do? Tip 1. Ask questions. You have every right to ask your waiter, "What kind of white fish is this exactly?" Tip 2. If the answer is tilefish, or if they don't know, politely decline. Tip 3. Choose cod or haddock instead. Both are much lower in mercury, easy to digest, and safe even for people with slower metabolisms or chronic conditions. Dining out should be a pleasure, not a risk. So next time you're faced with a tempting seafood special, remember, it's not just about what's on the plate, it's about what's in it. Have you ever ordered white fish without asking what it really was? Let us know in the comments by typing, "I never knew." You're not alone. Part 4. Swordfish, the elegant but toxic indulgence. A special occasion, a wedding buffet, a cruise ship dinner under the stars. You scan the menu and see it's swordfish. It looks like a treat. Thick cut, seared to perfection. Rich, bold, refined. For many older adults, swordfish feels like a celebration on a plate. And understandably so, it's not something we eat every day. So we justify it. Just this once, I deserve it. But here's the truth, hiding behind the elegance. That indulgence may come at a very high cost. Swordfish is one of the longest living predatory fish in the ocean. And over the course of its life, often 10, 15, even 20 years, it accumulates massive amounts of mercury and toxins from the food chain. That means by the time it reaches your plate, you're eating more than flavor. You're eating decades of exposure. Now here's where it gets worse. Many people believe mercury can be cooked away, just like bacteria. But that's a dangerous myth. Mercury doesn't break down with heat. It can't be burned off, boiled out, or masked with seasoning. It stays in the meat, whether it's grilled, baked, or pan-seared. And for people over 60, that mercury doesn't leave the body easily. Instead, it builds up, especially in those already managing kidney strain, high blood pressure, neurological sensitivity. It can quietly damage nerves, strain the kidneys, and worsen fatigue or mental fog. So what's the smarter move? If you enjoy a hearty, flavorful fish, consider rainbow trout or pollock. Both have a rich taste, a satisfying texture, and most importantly, low mercury levels. They're easier on your kidneys, your brain, and your long-term health. Remember, a luxurious meal doesn't have to come with invisible consequences. So next time you're celebrating, ask yourself, is this indulgence worth the long-term risk? And if you've chosen swordfish before, don't worry, you're not alone. Type, "I've tried it," in the comments so others know they're not the only ones learning something new today. Up next, a sushi favorite that may be even more dangerous, especially because we often eat it raw. Part 5. Big A Tuna. The raw truth about sushi favorites. It's Friday night. You're out with friends, maybe even family. The table's buzzing with conversation. The sushi arrives colorful, fresh, and beautifully arranged. And right at the center, a perfect slice of deep red ahi tuna. It feels like the healthy choice. Fresh, light, sophisticated, even comforting. More and more older adults are enjoying sushi, not just for the flavor, but for the social experience, the sense of vitality it brings. But here's the part most people don't know. That ahi tuna, also known as big eye tuna, one of the most dangerous choices for seniors. Why? 2 reasons, and both are serious. First, big eye tuna is extremely high in mercury, just like swordfish. Because they swim deep and live long, they absorb more mercury from the ocean over time. Mercury that doesn't leave your system easily, especially in older adults. But here's the second and even more immediate concern. It's usually eaten raw, and raw fish carries bacterial risks like salmonella, listeria, and parasites. For a healthy young person, that might mean a day or two of discomfort. But for someone over 60, with a weaker immune response, maybe a chronic condition or slower digestion, that same exposure can mean serious illness, hospitalization, or worse. And yet there's a common mistake many people make. They think all tuna is the same. But that's not true. There's a big difference between big eye or albacore tuna, high in mercury, often served raw, vs. skipjack tunatha, kind typically found in canned light tuna, much lower in mercury. So what's the smarter option? Choose canned skipjack or light tuna, ideally cooked. Limit it to no more than 2 servings per week for anyone over 60. And whenever possible, opt for fully cooked over raw, especially if your immune system isn't what it used to be. You don't have to give up the flavors you love. Just make safer, smarter swaps. Have you or someone you love enjoyed sushi regularly without knowing this risk? If so, type "I had no idea" in the comments. This might be the information that helps someone avoid a hospital visit. And in the next section, we'll explore a fish that's praised for its health benefits, but hides something much more troubling when it's farmed. Part plan. Farmed salmon, the healthy choice that isn't. If there's one fish that everyone seems to trust, it's salmon. You see it everywhere. At grocery stores, restaurants, meal kits. It's rich in omega-3s. Good for your heart, good for your brain, right? But here's the truth many people over 60 need to hear. Not all salmon is created equal, and the kind most people are buying, farmed salmon, may be far from the health food it's marketed to be. Let's break it down. Farmed salmon, especially those from Chile or parts of Southeast Asia, are raised in crowded underwater penstons of thousands of fish packed together. These pens are breeding grounds for disease and parasites. So to keep the fish alive long enough to sell, they're often fed chemical-laced pellets, antibiotics to suppress infection, and in some cases, even synthetic colorants, because without them, the meat would be a dull gray. But the danger doesn't end there. Lab tests have found that farmed salmon often contains residues of PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, dioxins, and banned antibiotics. These aren't just industry buzzwords. They've been linked to hormone disruption, increased inflammation, and long-term risks like cancer and immune system damage. Now ask yourself, if your body is over 60s lower to detoxify, more vulnerable to inflammation, maybe managing arthritis or blood pressure, do you really want those chemicals in your system? Here's what's especially concerning. Most shoppers assume all salmon is healthy. They hear omega-3s and grab whatever's on sale, usually farm-raised, pink-colored, and shrink-wrapped. But that convenience comes at a cost stone your body may be silently paying. So, what should you do? Always look for wild-caught Alaskan salmon. It comes from cleaner, colder waters and is naturally rich in nutrients without the chemical baggage. Yes, it might cost a little more, but when you weigh the difference in long-term health, it's an investment worth making. So the next time you're standing at the seafood section, remember, the label salmon doesn't guarantee safety. Read the fine print. Your future self will thank you. If you've been eating farmed salmon without realizing the risks, type, "I thought it was healthy," in the comments. You're not alone, and you're not too late to change. Up next, a fish that's deeply nostalgic for many families but dangerously overlooked in terms of origin. Part 7. Imported catfish. Cheap price, hidden costs. Let's talk about comfort food. For many of us, fried catfish brings back memories. It's the smell of Saturday nights at the diner, the sound of oil bubbling in a cast-iron skillet at Grandma's house, a plate passed down the table, hot and golden, served with hush puppies and coleslaw. It's familiar, it's nostalgic, and for many seniors, it's a regular tradition, a simple pleasure we grew up with and still enjoy. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Not all catfish is created equal, and depending on where it comes from, your comfort food might be carrying a serious risk. You see, a large portion of catfish sold in the U.S. today is imported, especially from countries like Vietnam and China. And in those places, many fish farms operate under loose or non-existent regulations. What does that mean for you? It means the fish may have been raised in overcrowded, dirty ponds, fed with low-quality feed, and routinely dosed with antibiotics that are banned in the United States. Why? To keep them alive long enough to sell, even if it means leaving drug residues in their bodies. And when those antibiotics are overused, they create something far more dangerous: drug-resistant bacteria. Now imagine that ending up on your plate, especially if your immune system isn't what it used to be. For a younger person, the worst case might be a stomach ache. But for an older adult, that same bacteria can cause persistent infection, digestive problems, and in some cases, hospitalization. The saddest part? Most people never realize the difference. They grab what's cheapest, what's on sale, but they're not reading the label. They're not checking where it's from. So, here's what you need to know. If you love catfish and many, you don't have to give it up. But you do need to make sure it's U.S. farm-raised. Fish farming standards in the U.S. are far stricter. Clean water, controlled feed, regulated use of medication, and no matter the source, always cook it thoroughly. Because even safe fish can carry bacteria if it's undercooked, especially for seniors managing slower digestion or chronic conditions. Comfort food should bring comfort, not risk. So next time you're planning that weekend fish fry, take a moment to check the label. If you've been eating imported catfish without realizing it, just type "I didn't know" in the comments. And if you've already made the switch to US raised, let others know your experience might help someone else stay safe. Coming up, how to decode grocery labels and restaurant menus so you can protect yourself before you ever take a bite. Part 8, how to read between the lines, grocery store and restaurant tips. By now, you've seen that not all fish are created equal. But here's the challenge. Most of the danger doesn't come from what's obvious. It comes from the fine print or what's missing altogether. Because whether you're shopping at the grocery store or ordering a seafood dish at your favorite restaurant, the real power lies in knowing what questions to ask and what red flags to spot. Let's start with the labels. Ever notice how some tuna cans say light and others say white? That's not just marketing. It's the difference between skipjack tuna, low mercury, and albacore or big A tuna, high mercury. If the can says white tuna, that usually means albacore, which you should avoid if you're over 60. Stick with light tuna, safer, cheaper, and easier on your nervous system. Now let's talk salmon. If the label doesn't clearly say wild caught, there's a good chance it's farm-even if the packaging looks premium. Look for keywords like wild, caught Alaskan, Pacific, preferable over Atlantic, sustainably sourced from the US or Canada. Be wary of vague terms like Atlantic salmon or color-enhanced fillets. And always check the country of origin. Products from Chile, Vietnam, or China are more likely to be farm-raised under questionable conditions. What about the seafood counter or restaurant menu? Don't be afraid to ask. Is this fish wild-caught or farm-raised? What type of white fish is this exactly? Where is this seafood sourced from? You're not being difficult. You're being informed. And a good store or restaurant should have nothing to hide. If they can't or won't answer your questions, that's a red flag in itself. Here's the bottom line. The more you know, the more control you have over your health. And in your 60s and beyond, that control is everything. Food choices are no longer just about flavor. They're about protecting your memory, your energy, your ability to live independently. So the next time you're standing in the seafood aisle or scanning a dinner menu, remember this. Your fork is your first line of defense. What labels have confused you in the past? Type, "I read labels now," in the comments if this gave you a new perspective. Next, we'll connect the dot show. These small daily choices ripple into bigger long-term changes in your health and energy. Part 9. The Domino Effect. How small fish choices affect big health outcomes. We've talked a lot about individual fish. Tilefish, swordfish, farmed salmon. But what's the bigger picture here? It's not just about one dinner or one trip to the seafood counter. It's about what happens over time, when small choices stack up quietly, invisibly. And when you look closely, the connection is clear. Mercury from fish like king mackerel and big-eye tuna doesn't just disappear. It lodges in your brain, your nerves, and your kidneys. The result? Memory lapses, mood swings, mental fog. PCBs and dioxins from farmed salmon? They mimic hormones, confuse your endocrine system, and inflame your joints. That nagging fatigue or weight gain you thought was just age It might be coming from your dinner plate. Parasites and bacteria in raw or low-quality fish. They strain your immune system over and over again, leaving you more vulnerable to colds, infections, and slower recovery. The problem? These symptoms: brain fog, stiffness, energy dips, digestive issues are often brushed off as normal aging. But sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're bioaccumulative warning signs and they're reversible. Let me share a real example. A retired nurse in Florida, call her Carolust, to eat seared ahi tuna several times a week. She believed it was healthy, but over time, she noticed she struggled to focus during conversations. Her energy was unpredictable. She felt off, but doctors found nothing wrong. One day, after reading a report on mercury in tuna, she decided to make a change. She swapped out the tuna, switched to wild salmon and rainbow trout, began limiting her fish intake to twice a week and only low-mercury sources. And within just a few weeks, she reported sharper thinking, more consistent energy, and her words, "I finally felt like myself again." It wasn't magic. It was simply removing the wrong inputs and letting her body catch up. Here's the truth. Every bite matters. And especially after 60, those bites are cumulative. So this isn't about guilt. It's about awareness and the quiet power of small, consistent, intentional changes. Have you ever experienced unexplained fatigue, brain fog, or chronic aches and thought, maybe it's just my age? You're not alone. If you relate to Carol's story, drop a comment. That sounds like me. Because chances are, there's someone watching this right now who needs to know they're not the only one. And in our final section, we'll bring everything together: your next steps, your safer swaps, and how to protect your health from here on out. Part 10. Your next step. Building a safer, smarter fish routine. Now that you know the truth, what do you do next? The good news? You don't have to give up fish. You don't have to abandon your favorite dishes or stop enjoying seafood altogether. But what you do need is a safer, smarter routine. Let's start with a simple checklist. Fish to toss from your weekly rotation. King mackerel, tilefish, especially from the Gulf of Mexico. Swordfish, big eye and albacore tuna. Farmed salmon from unregulated regions. Imported catfish, especially from Asia. These may look innocent, even healthy, but they come with long-term risks your body shouldn't have to fight. Now, here's what to keep or swap in. Canned light tuna, skipjack variety, low mercury, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, nutrient-dense and clean. Frozen cod or haddock, mild, versatile, and low in toxins. Rainbow trout, flavorful, safe, and easy on your digestion. U.S. farmed catfish. If you love it, just choose a regulated source and cook it thoroughly. These aren't just substitutions. They're upgrades designed to support your heart, your brain, and your strength with every bite. But the most important step? Don't keep this information to yourself. Have a conversation. Talk to your spouse. Call your parents. Text your adult children if they help with shopping or cooking. Because knowledge is only powerful when it's shared, and change is easier when you're not doing it alone. Even something as simple as reading a label together at the grocery store, or choosing grilled trout over swordfish at your next family dinner, can create healthier tradition zones rooted not just in taste, but in care. So let's be clear. This isn't about fear. It's not about guilt. It's about love. It's about loving yourself enough to make smarter decisions, and loving your family enough to help them do the same. Because one informed meal can protect years of memory. One smart swap can reduce inflammation and pain. One conversation can create a ripple that changes a household. So tonight, check your freezer. Tomorrow, read a label. This weekend, start a conversation. You are not powerless. You're aware, and that makes all the difference. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. And thank you for choosing health not just for today, but for the years ahead. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and stay well.